I Some crochet ideas, man, they show up really loud, all at once, demanding our attention. But most of mine don't show up like that at all. Most of them come quietly. They drift in while I'm sitting and stitching something simple, or while I'm putting yarn back in my yarn store. Sometimes it's what I'm not thinking about crocheting at all. They're soft little ideas, the kind that you almost miss if you're not paying attention. Today feels like a day for those quiet ideas. I found some yarn that I used on a previous project that I had some leftovers of. And when I came across it, it was like, this would be good for something, but what? I don't know. So I sat down, book in hand, you know how it goes, and I decided that I was going to just work on something until I had an idea. Now, that doesn't always work. Sometimes you still don't get those ideas, and that's okay. You know, sometimes those ideas are just going to manifest themselves as we continue to work up the yarn, right? Sometimes in our brains, it doesn't click what it is that we're trying to make. Sometimes we have no clue, no plan, no real idea. But when you just sit down with your yarn and your hook in hand and just let the yarn and the hook guide your way, sometimes that's when the cutest little things end up showing up, the tiniest little voices. So that's what I've been sitting here working on and doing for the last little while. I'm just letting it cook on its own. Sometimes a quiet idea is maybe just a color combination. Like these. This is Bernat Blanket Brights in, I want to say, royal blue, I think is what they call it. I could be wrong on that. And then this is also a Bernat Blanket, of course. I don't have any more of this one. I don't remember what this one was called. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to end up being. No clue. This is also a Bernat Blanket. Also don't remember what this one was. Y'all, seriously. I used these colors, well, these two anyway, for a blanket for my son. Late last year, I think it was. He loves his blanket. He calls it his weighted blanket because for him, he doesn't sleep all that well. Like, ever in his entire life. He's almost 12. Seriously, you guys. You know, there comes a point in time after a newborn gets brought home from the hospital where eventually they settle into a sleep pattern and they eventually will start to sleep through the night. My son's going to be 12. He has slept through the night without waking up a total of once in his entire life. Once. That phase where a newborn, shortly thereafter, maybe 3 months, will start to sleep through the night. They make that transition, right? Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're still getting up 3 or 4 times a night to be able to eat. That's okay. That's understandable. They're tiny little beings. For the first I want to say 2 whole years. Might have been just under 2 years. For my son, he slept in 20-minute increments, you guys. I'm not kidding you. He would sleep for 20 minutes and be up for 2 or 3 hours before he would go back to sleep for another 20 minutes. Eventually, around that 2-year mark, he would start to sleep for an hour at a time. But then he would be up for another 2 or 3 hours. Let me just tell y'all, I didn't think I was going to make it through that stage. I had almost zero sleep for 2 years. Really for 4 years. Because the first 4 years, even though he had went from 20 minutes of sleep time to an hour of sleep time around the age of 2, by the time he was 4, I want to say, we were finally, between 4 and 5, we were finally getting to where he could sleep for 2 or 3 hours. Oh, man. For all you mamas and daddies out there who are going through that, I feel for you. I really do. It's not easy. It is probably the most difficult thing in our children's lives that we don't really talk about, that we have to go through. Some of us, not all of us. My girls, they were easy. I'm not kidding you. They were so easy. They could sleep for 10, 12 hours. I miss those days. I really miss those days. Anyway, wow, I just went completely off track there, didn't I? I apologize for that. Anyway, I'm just sitting here and I'm working on this, whatever it's going to be. Again, I don't really know. So it may be the color combinations, or maybe a stitch that I just haven't used in a while. Sometimes the thought of a buddy that isn't ready to grow yet, but wants to be noticed anyway. The ideas don't need to be big, right? To be meaningful. They just need a moment. And sometimes those moments add up into whatever you may happen to be looking at in front of you at the time. Because right now, I have no clue what this is supposed to be. I have zero clue, you guys. But I've learned that if I try to force ideas into something too quickly, then the idea just disappears. And that's kind of the way that I'm starting to feel about this, is that it's just disappearing. And it's not really, I don't know. Sometimes they're kind of shy like that, though, and they need space. Maybe they need time. They need a gentle kind of attention, right? So instead of trying to turn them into a project right away, I tend to let them sit, which is why I have so many UFOs, unfinished objects, for those of you who don't know what that means. Because I will just set it to the side in its own little basket in my room until I can decide what I'm doing with it. Or until they decide to tell me what they want done. Oh, man. Just put them aside and you let them breathe. Some of my favorite projects actually started as nothing more than a quiet idea. A feeling, a color maybe, a tiny spark that didn't really look like much at first. And then one day, without warning, it clicked. The shape wanted to be heard. It wanted to be there. The purpose then made sense. The idea finally found its voice. So today, that was kind of my plan, was just to let these quiet ideas just stay quiet if that's what they needed to do. I'm not trying to hold them into anything. I notice the idea. I'll pick that back up whenever that idea decides to step out of the shadows a little bit. Just kind of pick up the yarn. And you play with the yarn. And you just let the ideas speak to you, right? Let them drift in and out without grabbing onto them too tightly. There's something kind of peaceful about that. Something that just grounds you in the moment. If you have your own crochet ideas right now, I hope you give them space. Let them be soft. Not every idea has to be loud. They all still matter. Some of the best ones start as just that little tiny whisper. Anyway, until next time, be you, always. Bye, y'all.